All right, let's start off with the quarterback position. So through the first three games, I thought Jay Cutler, just assessing his performance, I thought in the first game he played really well. Obviously, he had his moments where he missed Jarvis Landry in the back of the end zone. He skipped a couple balls, but I think overall he got the ball out on time. He had the offense working at a nice pace and rhythm. His ball placement was really nice against a really good secondary for the Chargers, obviously with Verrett back there, and Casey Hayward for most of that game. And that was a really good defense, and he really played pretty well. I mean, he made plays with his legs. Obviously, that throw to Devontae Parker, making something out of nothing. And that throw to Kenny Stills where he had pressure, he got out of it. He finds Kenny Stills for like a 35-yard touchdown. We just really haven't seen that since then, and obviously this offense is averaging 3rd and 10 plus since then. We haven't gotten in a lot of manageable third downs, obviously. And, I don't think it's all on the quarterback at all. But we really just haven't seen any of those things since then. I thought his worst game of the year so far, by far, was the Jets. I mean, most of that game, and a lot of that game you can blame on Jay Cutler just because of his ball placement was terrible, the timing was terrible, he was skipping balls, his mechanics were just way off. He was throwing off of his back foot for some stupid reason. And obviously from a veteran quarterback, that's not something you would expect to see. Going into this game, I really thought he would get back on track. He was going up against the Saints defense that has struggled to defend the pass, to say the least. I mean, they're giving up like way over 20 points a game. And they're giving up, 300 yards through the air and stuff of that nature. So I thought, okay, this is going to be a good bounce back game for this offense. And it just didn't happen. I mean, Jay Cutler, really, I thought the first drive of the game was the same kind of Jay Cutler we saw in the Chargers game. The pace, the rhythm was really nice. Some of the ball placement was really nice. I mean, some of those slants to Jay Cutler, to Devontae Parker, and to Jarvis Landry, those are some tight windows, and he put them right where they needed to be, those balls. And he got the ball out on time. And he looked really nice. He was really getting the offense going. And without a run game, really. I mean, that drive was mostly passing. And it was all on him, and he pushed the football down the football field, and we got 1st and goal. Obviously, he ends up throwing the fader out to Julius Thomas. Now, whether you want to blame communication because of that, or you want to blame Julius Thomas's terrible route because it was god awful, and the effort was terrible as well, or you want to blame Jay Cutler for not throwing it to his back shoulder. I mean, that's really your opinion how you see that play. I see it as just a bad route by Julius Thomas. Even though Jay Cutler should have thrown it to his back shoulder, you got to help out your quarterback a little bit, and the effort that he gave on that play was pretty bad. But again, when you look back on that Chargers game, he made a lot of plays with his legs. The pocket presence was really good. Obviously, his feel for the game was really nice in that game, and he made plays with his legs, and he got the ball out and made plays. This game, I felt like that first drive, again, the running game was non-existent the entire game, obviously. But that first drive was exactly what we need from Jay Cutler. I mean, he was pushing the football down the field. I thought the play calling was way better than it was last week. It was less conservative, and we were really pushing it down the football field. And there was a couple plays where Dennis Allen sends his classic blitzes with safeties and stuff of that nature. And Jay Cutler stood in the pocket. He showed great poise, and obviously Julius Thomas was wide open, and that's something we talked about previewing the game. Is the Saints have a ton of busted coverages, especially when they play zone, and especially when they blitz. So that was classic Saints. They send a zone blitz, and Julius Thomas was wide open. Obviously Jay Cutler, stood in the pocket, and he found him. And he made those. That's the Jay Cutler we need. Obviously, really dictating the pace of the game, pushing the football down the field. I thought for the rest of the game, and I wish I could sit here and tell you guys that it was on the quarterback. Like I said in the last time in the Jets game, a lot of that was on him. He missed a lot of open throws. This game, not so much. I mean, the one throw that he missed that I wish he would have made is not throw that fader out, but throw it to Jarvis Landry underneath because I thought he was wide open. I mean, the man was wide open. Now, obviously, the play, it looked like it was designed to isolate Julius Thomas with the corner, which it was. And he obviously was. It worked. But Jarvis Landry was wide open for the touchdown. But the play wasn't going to him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is, I thought, that this was not on the quarterback. I mean, between the penalties and, I mean, like, really dumb penalties. When I say penalties, I mean just insanely stupid. Some of them were bad calls, but most of them were just stupid plays by us. The dumbest call of the day was the illegal use of hands to the face to Marshawn Lattimore that Tunsil had. I mean, that is unacceptable. I mean, that is a corner that you're blocking. And for some reason, your hands are on his face mask, even though it was a super ticky-tacky call. I mean, when you go back and look at that, I mean, I don't know how the refs saw that, because he barely touched it, but it doesn't matter. There was a lot of dumb penalties. We shot ourselves in the foot. We were averaging 3rd and 10 plus. The running game was non-existent in this game. I mean, the Saints linebackers were shooting the gaps all night long, or all day long. We could not have been more predictable on offense. Our short yardage game was atrocious. There was a couple times in that game where we had 3rd and short. I think we had a 3rd and inches in that game, and we ended up doing I don't know if it was an inside zone or it was a draw. But it was a handoff in the shotgun. We couldn't pick it up. So it wasn't Jay Cutler. The offensive line played terrible. There were stupid penalties. It was a collective effort in this game. Yeah, I don't think Jay Cutler, one of the things I don't think he did right is he did not dictate the pace well at all. I mean, where has that no-huddle offense been since we saw it in preseason and in the Chargers game? It's been nowhere. We haven't really, the play calling, I thought got more conservative as the game went along. We really didn't push the football down the field as much as we did on that first drive. We've reverted back to the Jets game, which we kind of we were banging our head against the wall and continued to try to establish a running game, and we just couldn't do it. And the offensive, I mean, there were defensive linemen in the backfield. Like, every good run we had, I mean, even with Kenyon and Jay, there were people in the backfield. So I wish I could sit here and say, yeah, the quarterback is to blame. No, he didn't, his awareness of the play clock, the pace of the game, most of that stuff was on him, but the offense couldn't get in a rhythm. They just couldn't get in a rhythm. Because of penalties, especially in that first half, there was a lot of drives that were just stalled because of that. So it wasn't all on the quarterback this game. I thought he had a really nice drive, the first drive, but again, not all on the quarterback, and we're going to get into some of the other things that happened in this game. All right, so let's talk about play calling and Adam Gase, and we're going to talk about some personnel grouping things as well. I really don't understand. Like, I think we've been super predictable through the first 3 games. I think we're trying to stick to the secret recipe that worked for us last year and the identity of the team that worked for us last year and got us to 10-6 was really run the football, and we've really tried to establish run in these last 2 games, especially. The first game we did that successfully, but the last 2 games we've been super predictable of what we're running. Obviously, when we're under center, it's either going to be outside zone, like 100% of the time it's going to be outside zone, and we're not going to play action on first down. So we've been super predictable as an offense, especially in the game plan. I thought that first drive against the Saints was like perfect what we need to do. We really pushed the football down the field. There were less screens called. We were less conservative. We really let Jay Cutler cut it loose in that first drive of that football game, and it worked. I mean, we were moving the football. We were getting our players involved, especially in the skill position groups. Everybody was catching balls. Our 2 main guys were really getting involved in the offense and pushing the football down the field, and Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker, and they couldn't stop it. We were less predictable, and we just opened up the game a little bit. As the game went along, we really tried to establish the running game a whole lot more when it just wasn't working. And I think it was just too predictable for the Saints as a defense to game plan for. I mean, again, when we're under center, and we haven't got the run game going, they know the ball's going to Jay Ajayi. He's a featured player in this offense, obviously, and that's obviously one of the bigger things they're trying to stop. I think we've just been too predictable, and we've been super conservative. I thought as that game went along, we were super conservative. Even though I'm saying, when I say we pushing the ball down the football field, it wasn't like, I'm not saying, like, usually that means we're taking deep shots. We weren't. We were just throwing slants. I mean, that to us right now is pushing the football down the field. And that's considered conservative by certain people. And we didn't take any deep shots to our playmakers on the outside in the Saints game or in the Jets game, which is unacceptable. I mean, I just think we need to let Jay Cutler cut it loose, for God's sakes. And we just been super conservative. I have no idea why. The offensive line hasn't been playing well, but they're not bad enough, and we haven't even attempted it. So it's not like, okay, we're gonna take a 50-yard post route shot right here, or even just take a seam shot. I don't know, just take a 20-yard pat. I don't know. Pick what you want. Anything over 10 yards at this point would be nice. Obviously, we led the league last year in big play touchdowns in the past game with like 20. Tannehill was in the upper echelon of quarterbacks when it came to 20-plus yard completions. You know what really boggles my mind when we're talking about game plan and offense, just in general offensive play calling? When you look at the Chargers game, I thought the excuse was, okay, we're getting the ball out of our hands to protect the quarterback. We're going up against a really good front seven. They've got tremendous pass rushers on the outside. They have Joey Bosa. They have Melvin Ingram. That's why we're being so conservative. Okay, so we're going to week 2. We're playing a bad Jets defense that just gave up 45 points to a Raiders offense. Obviously, the Raiders offense super talented. They take a ton of shots down the football field. So in this game, I thought we were going to be less conservative. They lost some talent up front with Sheldon Richardson now gone. We didn't take any deep shots in that game. The game plan literally didn't change. We were super conservative. We tried to establish the running game. We tried, it was a bunch of quick passes, a bunch of screens. We just didn't do that. And then against the Saints, we're playing a bad secondary. The front seven's not that great. The only really good talent they have on it is Cameron Jordan. We did the same thing. We did the exact same thing. So the game planning has been super predictable. The play calling has not been aggressive whatsoever. It's been super conservative. To be honest with you guys, I don't understand why. It's got to be something we don't know about. Either that or just this was the game plan all along for the first. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's just not working. We need to be way more aggressive in our game plan. It's a waste of talent on the outside to be this conservative. I think we were like the Chicago Bears or something like that, where we just have terrible skill position talent and we're just trying to manufacture some kind of big play, and it doesn't make any sense when our playmakers can do that themselves. And again, there's just been no rhyme or reason for it. Like in the first game, like I said, you could, I guess, make a case that we were protecting Jay and we're trying to get the ball out of his hands quick so he doesn't take as many hits. But in the last 2 games, the talent level that we were playing was nowhere near that, and we still did it. So again, the game planning has been terrible. We haven't game planned for our opponent at all. And it's just not been good. I think we're just being way too conservative. Some of the other things that I think need to change is the switching of guards. Like I said, for the first 3 games of the season, if we don't have enough tape on our guards and how the offensive line is played to pick one at this point, then I don't know how we're evaluating talent on this football team. I think the third down running back situation needs to be figured out. Jay Ajayi is clearly not good enough to be a third down running back. Some of the personnel groupings need to change. I think Kenny Drake needs to be out there more on third downs for sure. He needs to get more involved in the passing game. Even if he's taking a short pass out of the backfield, he is so talented in the open field. He needs to get the ball more. Jakeem Grant needs to get the ball more. I mean, some of the personnel groupings need to be more. We need to mix it up more. We need to be more creative when it comes to that. I think when you talk about the tight end situation that we're currently going through, I think we need to switch that up some more. I don't know. Julius Thomas just isn't cutting it at this point. He just isn't. I mean, that route that he had in the end zone was so bad. Marquise Gray, he's not the most talented guy in the world, but he had a really good preseason. At this point, any kind of change would be good. Anthony Fasano, maybe he needs to get more involved in the passing game. And believe it or not, we have a lot of talent besides Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, and Devontae Parker. There are other people on this offensive roster that are super talented guys that just have not seen the field. So our personnel groupings need to be more creative at this point. Instead of the same guys over and over again, we need to take more shots down the football field. I mean, when you look at the Eagles preseason game, we throw a 50-50 football up to Devontae Parker. He comes down with it against Ronald Darby, who's a pretty good corner. We do the same thing in the Chargers game against a pretty good corner in Casey Hayward. We face 2 teams in a row with bad secondaries and bad defenses, and we don't take as many shots. And I know that the Eagles game was a preseason game. I get it. You're not showing what your game plan is, but against the Chargers, why haven't we done that more? We have not thrown, people are like, where's the 50-50 ball to Devontae? Well, we haven't thrown it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We're being too conservative. Our personnel groupings need to be more creative. I think we need to figure out a third down back. Julius Thomas is not performing well as a tight end. So those are things that I think need to be fixed from a coaching standpoint. If I something needs to change. So those things need to get better. All right, let's talk about the offensive line, which has been utterly disappointing through the first few games of the season here. It's only 3 games, and I know people are acting like this is our 10th loss or something like that. We just need to rebuild. It's only 3 games, and I know people think I'm overly optimistic sometimes and stuff of that nature. It is just 3 games. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what else to tell you guys. If this was the 10th game of the season and our record looked as bad as it did, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, this needs to change. This needs to change. We need to draft this, and this. It's only been 3 games. So, through the first 3 games, the offensive line has been utterly disappointing when you think about the talent on this team. You look at Juwan James, Laramie Tunsil, Jermont Bushrod, Mike Pouncey, and whoever the heck we're feeling like needs to start at guard for this particular drive. It is what it is. It's just been unacceptable. Last week the performance of Jermont Bushrod was unacceptable. He had a terrible game. I'm talking about the Jets game. You talk about this week against the Saints. Laramie had a terrible game. I mean, when you talk about some of the penalties that he committed, some of the things that he gave up in terms of pass protection, the only consistent offensive lineman who used to be the most inconsistent offensive lineman is Juwan James. Juwan James by far has been the best offensive lineman on the team, and if you told me that, I'd have been like, well, I mean, between Mike Pouncey and Laramie, I thought those two were gonna have great years, and Mike had a good game. I don't think Mike had a terrible game. I mean, the Jets game was pretty bad, but this game was not as bad as the Jets game. The Jermont Bushrod did not have as bad of a game as he did in the Jets game. He didn't commit as many penalties as he did in that Jets game. But again, the offensive line has been atrocious. When you talk about short yardage situations in that game, and again, I think a lot of it is schematic. We've been so predictable on offense, like the way their linebackers were shooting gaps in that game. If we took advantage of that in terms of like, okay, we're calling play action right here, and we're gonna take a shot, and we're gonna give them the same look that we do, every other time that we run outside zone. The way their linebackers were shooting the gaps, there is no way that they would have got back in their coverage in time. I mean, some of those people would have been wide open. Like, some of it's not all on the offensive line because the talent is there. But again, they have not executed well at all. Between penalties and just not being physical enough up front, it's been pretty bad, terrible to watch. So the offensive line has been utterly disappointing through the first 3 weeks. All right, so let's talk about my overall and collective thoughts on just the offense as a unit. I thought we've been too predictable. We're not taking enough shots down the football field. I thought we would be. I mean, through the first 2 games, this was basically the same game plan as last week, which blows my mind. Like, nothing drastically changed. Yeah, we ran the Wildcat one time, so oh my god, like nothing drastically changed in the game plan at all. And I thought it would. I thought the first drive of the game, that was the most aggressive that we have been, and again, some of it is on player execution, but I think things need to change. I think personnel wise, it's been mostly just it's mostly just been Kenny, DP, Jarvis, Jay. That's it. That's who's been on the football field. Like, it needs to change up. We need to give the defense different looks formationally. It just has not been creative at all on the offensive side of the football. Some players just have not gotten the football enough. You would think Jakeem Grant would have got the football already. You think we would have got him more involved with the game plan. Maybe, done some misdirection plays with him in the backfield. Like, the offense has not been creative enough, and you would think the game plan would have changed more drastically because of the offensive performance of the first 3 games. Before the season started, it seems like this team just changed. Like, they just changed costumes. It's just been backwards for the first 3 games. Before the season started, I thought we were going to have defensive issues more than anything. I thought we were going to give up a ton of points through the first, not against the Jets. I mean, I thought we were going to play the Buccaneers, and we didn't play the Buccaneers, but we were going up against some really good offenses, and I thought, okay, the defense is going to be the problem this year. The offense is just going to be so fun to watch. To only score 1 touchdown through the first 3 games of the season with this 2 touchdowns with this offense. And I'm not, we're not even going to count that touchdown in garbage time. 1 touchdown is ridiculous. Like, it is almost disheartening as a Dolphins fan to watch this talent each and every single week and expect that, okay, this is going to be, just expect something better. Like, the product that we're getting on the football field it's unacceptable. It's hard to watch. Like, I don't know what else, other way to explain it, to be honest with you. I think we need to get back to some different things. This offense is good at other things. We need to get back to the no-huddle offense. We haven't seen it since the Chargers game. I mean, we really just haven't seen it. The offense just hasn't been able to get into any kind of rhythm. We need to switch it up. We need to change it. I think Jay Cutler needs to be unchained a little bit more. I don't know why we're being so conservative. Let him rip it down the football field. Push the ball. The offense needs to be more vertical through the first 3 weeks. And again, the quick pass game, it is a big part of this Adam Gase offense, but I think we need to open up a little bit more on offense. The way the defense is played through the first 3 games, and yeah, they got a lot of hate for that Jets game because it's the Jets. And obviously the Jaguars end up giving 23 points to the team. 20 points for this football team and the offense that we have is not hard to overcome at all, and it shouldn't be. But apparently for this offense, that it blows my mind the performance of this offense through the first 3 games. Again, the read we had on them in preseason and the way they performed, some of the talent, like Jakeem Grant, the way he played, no way anybody would have been able to predict the way the offense has performed and the way the defense has performed. We're gonna get into the defense right after this, but because I don't want to make points that I'm gonna make again through the defense, but the way the defense played against the Saints, I mean, you could not have asked for a better performance against that offense. So the offense needs to get it together. We need to figure something different out. The game plan needs to be drastically different this next week going up against the Titans. If it's not, then why are we beating our head against the wall? It's just not working. We need to change. We need to be less conservative. Maybe we see more no huddle. Maybe we see more Jakeem Grant on the football field. Maybe we see some fake an end around, hand it off to somebody else up the middle. I don't know. Maybe we see Jakeem or Kenyon and J.J. line up in the backfield at the same time. Just be more creative with the personnel groupings as an offense. And again, only scoring 1 meaningful touchdown through the first 3 games of the season is ridiculous. So this offense, there's a lot of things that need to change this upcoming week against the Titans. Hopefully we see that. We need to see it because it just isn't working. It just isn't working. That's the best way I can explain it. It just isn't working. So stop doing it because it's not working. So let me know what you guys think about the offense, and so let's get into the defense. All right, let's start off with the linebackers. Obviously, the biggest story going into this game is we were getting Lawrence Timmons back. Obviously, that whole AWOL situation, we're not going to get into that. But the linebackers were, I think Kiko Alonso is sneakily having a Pro Bowl season so far through the first 3 games. I mean, he's been really fun to watch so far this season. I thought some of the things that he did last year were wrong. I don't think his gap assignments were nowhere near as good as they were this year. I thought he got lost in the trash a lot last year since we were running a wide 9, and now this year it's just been totally different. He's reading his keys a whole lot better. He's disengaging off of blocks a whole lot better. I just think Kiko Alonso is having sneakily a really good season. The man almost had a pick 6, for God's sakes, in that game. His instincts are unreal, off of that screen. And the way some of his open field tackling is just much improved from last year. That tackle he had in the open field, I think it was against Mark Ingram, and he had it with one hand, or maybe it was Alvin Kamara, I can't remember, but Kiko Alonso is sneakily having a great year. I thought Lawrence Timmons, for his first game back, his first regular season game as a Dolphin, was really good. I loved the way the players responded to him. I loved the way that they were communicating out there. You saw Lawrence go over to talk to some of the young players, and when their heads were down, he went over and patted them on the back. And I just like to see that as a defense, to communicate with each other and try to get better as a defense. So I thought Lawrence Timmons, he flew around to the football. I thought he did a tremendous job of when the running backs did catch it in the open field, which they did a lot. Obviously, we knew that the Saints were going to do that, especially with Alvin Kamara. When he had the opportunity to make the tackle, he did. He flew around to the football, especially in the running game. I mean, Lawrence Timmons was really dominant in the trenches in this game. There were some busted coverages in this game. There was one time where, I can't remember if it was Bobby or I can't remember who it was, but Lawrence took the crossing route and somebody was wide open. But other than that, I thought the linebackers, Mike Cole, I thought he was having a good game, man. And obviously he ended up getting injured, but he was having a decent game. He wasn't playing terrible at all. I thought we did a great job of hiding him in this game because you really didn't see Mike Cole have to make a whole lot of tackles in the open field a lot. that he did in the first 2 weeks, which I thought was a great job by Matt Burke of hiding some of the blemishes on this defense. And Mike Cole had a really good game. I thought there was one play where he disengaged off a block and made a great tackle in the hole on Adrian Peterson, and that's something we really haven't seen from him. That's something he struggled with, is getting off blocks. And I thought he had a decent game before he got hurt. So I thought the linebackers, I mean, man, did they look good on Sunday. There were some things that later in the game that we messed up on, but overall the defense really kept us in it. And after a while, because especially I thought after the first half, the offense, I was like, okay, penalties really hurt the rhythm of the offense. Same thing with the Saints, it really hurt them. Just making stupid mental errors, and I thought, okay, the offense is going to get back on track. The way the defense played throughout the entire game to keep us in that game, even in the fourth quarter, we had an opportunity to come back in that game. It's hats off to them. They really did a great job, and a great job by the linebackers as well. Like I said, I thought Kiko's had a sneakily good year. Lawrence Timmons had a great first game as a Dolphin. And Mike Cole had a good game before he got out, and I thought Matt Burke did a good job of hiding him. Like I said, you really didn't see him get involved in the open field as much. So I'm really happy with the performance of the linebackers. All right, let's talk about the secondary unit for the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, there is a lot of moaning and groaning from fans after the Jets game because obviously we had up some big plays to Robbie Anderson. But in this game, they had a way tougher task. I mean, you talk about Drew Brees and Sean Payton and the way that they can, control a game, and the way that they call plays is immaculate. And the secondary had a really tough job, especially since Byron Maxwell was inactive with a hamstring injury. He would have been benched anyway, apparently, for Cordrea Tankersley. I'm surprised it's taken this long for Cordrea to get on the football field. That's a whole nother thing. But anyway, let's talk about the secondary. I thought, the game plan was going into this game that we were going to play more man press, which is hallelujah, thank God we recognized the personnel on this defense. And we played a whole lot more man press in this game than we did probably combined through the first two games. There was some zone mixed in there. And that's really, to be honest with you, most of where the busted coverages came from. Again, zone coverage with this defense it hurts your head. But the man press thing, I love that we went towards that more. That's something that us Dolphins fans have been crying and yelling for, because obviously Xavier and Cordrea and obviously Byron, all of those guys are the best they've been is when they man press. That's obviously why we drafted Xavier and Cordrea, not to play zone. It's just to press the line and really give our line enough time to rush the passer, which is a great idea because that's how teams have been game planning for us for the first three, over the last few years, is just really trying to get the ball out of your hands quick. So if you get a bunch of man press corners, it's going to be harder to do that. So I thought Cordrea was the brightest spot of this game. If there was anything to look forward to, it's Cordrea. I mean, they really picked on him. They tried to take advantage of the rookie. And that one play that he had, I can't remember if it was cover two. I can't remember what defense it was, to be honest with you. But Cordrea did a tremendous job of just really giving Drew Brees one look, and he threw it, and then to really disguise of what it looked like, and then he went up to, obviously deflected it. I thought he did a great job on Michael Thomas, even though Michael Thomas, he made some plays. Obviously, he had 8 catches for 89 yards, but, Cordrea did a tremendous job of tackling when players did catch on him short of the first down. There was one play that was such a rookie mistake, it's not even funny, where, it was a false start on our defense, which happened a lot in this game, and Cordrea, I don't know I guess the call was for zone. Again, another technically a busted coverage on a free play, but he let Michael Thomas run across the field and run across the formation, which is a huge no-no as a corner. If there's no one on your side to take, then I don't know what the call was on defense. Maybe that was on somebody else, but there was nobody else across the formation to pick him up, and he really just let Michael Thomas catch that. That was a huge rookie mistake. But other than that, I thought Cordrea played tremendous. Xavier had a decent game himself. There was a couple plays where you know what I mean. But other than that, I thought when he played man press, he performed very well. Rashad Jones had there was some, the play that he had in the backfield. It was 3rd and 1. Uh, and if he makes the play in the backfield there, then they can't settle for a field goal. And it ended up getting called back for holding on, I think it was Vincent Taylor or Devon Gotcha, I can't remember, but it was the dumbest call ever. But anyway, Rashad Jones shot the gap and destroyed, I think it was Mark Ingram in the backfield. He flew around to the football all day. He had a tremendous game. So I thought the second, Nate Allen, you really didn't hear his name called a lot, which is a good thing. He did give up the, man, what did he do wrong? I think it was Cordrea gave up the touchdown in the flat. It was a sprint out play, but I don't know. Anyway, Nate Allen really didn't do anything wrong. The defense overall collectively played a great game, but I thought the secondary had a great bounce-back performance against a tough task against Drew Brees, and especially since the rookie started. I mean, Cordrea, he's been a blessing in this secondary, so I can't wait to see more of Cordrea. I wish he started earlier, especially against the Jets. I think that game would have been totally different with him starting, but the game plan I thought was different this game, as opposed to the offense, which is pretty much more of the same. I thought the game plan for the defense, I thought Matt Burke did a great job of recognizing, okay, this is the way these corners need to play. I thought Bobby McCain had his worst game of the year. There was a couple plays where he, he let up some big plays in the slot there, but I thought he played well. He let up that Ted Ginn catch at the last. He didn't get his head around. It was just a great back shoulder throw. That was all Drew Brees, but other than that, I think Bobby McCain's having sneakily a good season. And I thought the secondary had a really pretty good bounce back performance from a week ago. All right, let's talk about the defensive line, which has been dominating through the entire season, and they had another dominant performance in this game. The run defense, I mean, first, there's been so many negatives on the offensive side of the football that, most people are focusing on that, and when that happens, obviously, people tend to focus on the negatives more than they do the positives, but the defensive line against the run has been, drastically better than it was from a year ago. That's the biggest thing that we needed to improve on, and we really have made offenses one-dimensional. And we've done a tremendous job in the run defense department. Devon Godshaw's quietly having a good rookie year, even though he's, this is the second year in a row that you could say that he's been called for some stupid penalties, but he's a rookie. And I thought Vincent Taylor, for all the trash he got, in the offseason, of people saying, oh, an NFL executive said that he isn't good enough to be in the NFL. Whatever. He's been pretty dang good for the first 3 games since where we drafted him and what was expected of him. I think he's been outperforming expectations. And those rookies have a lot to do with the change in the run defense. I thought Jordan Phillips, before he injured his ankle, he's had a great year. I think the whole him not having to play so many downs has helped his motor a lot. I thought the interior of the defensive line is like night and day from a year ago, and it's good to see that we have all these young players like Jordan Phillips, Devon Gotcha, and Vincent Taylor that are going to be the future of this defensive line. So it's nice to see that. And speaking of the future of the defensive line, Charles Harris, I think he had a great game, and not a great game. Let me tone it down. What I mean by great is, for the first 2 games, he's been pretty much a no-show. This game, he really was active. He almost had a sack on Drew Brees. He was so close. He had a lot of quarterback pressures. I think he had 2. He made some plays in the backfield as well. He also made some plays upfield as well. Charles Harris's hustle and motor has never been a question mark of his. I mean, he's very athletic, and you can see as on the picture here, he's tackling a skill position player. So it's nice. It's nice to see that. Cam Wake had another sack this game. He continues to be a force to be reckoned with. Same thing with Andre Branch. I can't remember how many. I can't remember how many sacks we had this game. Sue continues to have a great year. Obviously, with the sneak on 4th and inches or whatever it was, he didn't get the first down, but it's hard to spot that in a pile of dust. So I thought the defensive line, for all the bad things that have happened this year so far, talk about improvement and the job that Chris Greer did of improving the talent on the interior of the defensive line and improving the depth on the end position with bringing in William Hayes and Charles Harris. Just hats off to him for that. Again, depth on this defensive line has been an issue, and it's not an issue this year. We really have versatility on the defensive line this year, and I feel comfortable with the guys when they do come in that they're going to get the job done. And Vincent Taylor also had a quarterback pressure as well, so just a great job by Chris Greer of adding talent to that room. So my overall thoughts on the defense, I've been super positive on them. For some of the negatives that we continue to see, the tight ends over the middle of the football field continue to be an issue. There was a couple plays where you're like, why did we do that? There was a play where we could have prevented a field goal, but I swear to God, Omaha Mama Nui or Scuba Doobie or whatever his name is, former New England Patriots tight end, he caught a pass. Like, this man is like, he looks out of shape. This man caught a pass and like ran for like 10 years. I don't know. But Kobe Fleener, he caught a couple big balls over the middle as well. I thought open field tackling at the like later in the game towards the end was atrocious. There was a third down where they threw a screen to Michael Thomas. Somehow he got the first down. So open field tackling there were some plays here and there where like we could have tackled them short of the third down where they were just dumping it down. And again, that's the answer to our pass rush. They're not. If that was against any other defense, they would have tried to get the first down more traditionally than just throwing a screen and praying. So that some of those things were obviously need to be cleaned up. There were some busted coverages again when we played zone, but other than that, the defense had a tremendous performance. To only allow 13 points to Drew Brees in the fourth quarter with like 9 minutes left to go. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better performance from our defense. So the defense was the brightest spot of this game. There were some individual performances that were really nice to see from young players, and overall it was a great day for the young players on defense. And this draft is really turning out to be a good one for our defense. So I am Skags1383, guys. Let me know what you guys think. I know this was a bad game for our offense, and it was really hard to watch. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next one.